Hey everybody, Al Puglisi Trains with my friend Steve Sherrill. How you doing, Steve?
Doing great today.
Steve is a master modeler, folks, and he is a legend in On30 circles. That's O scale that runs on 30-inch gauge track, and we're explaining that. His layout is spectacular. This is going to be part one. Now, I had it briefly posted on YouTube, but I had to pull it because it was out of focus. This one's going to be a much better video. So for those that were trying to watch part one and couldn't, this is the revised part one. Enjoy the show. Okay, Steve, how you doing? Tell us about this Paradise, West Virginia. Is that your wife's sign above the Paradise?
Yeah, she gave me that sign for Christmas, and like any good husband, I had to put it up somewhere.
Right. And the layout is what size again?
It's 24 feet by 32 feet. It's in a separate building in back of the house. It was a pool house at one time.
Wow.
It was unfinished. I had some disabled veterans come down and finish it all for me. They did a wonderful job.
Wow.
And so we have a VA hospital nearby. And so I took advantage of their ability in carpentry.
Oh, wow. And this is all dead rail powered, which means there's no power to the track.
Absolutely no power.
Wow.
The dead rail, I don't use anything but batteries. I haven't cleaned track in over 10 years now.
Okay, you don't need to, yeah.
Yeah, I've converted myself about 25 locomotives to battery power. I had another friend, and he converted about 50.
My God.
And so between us, we probably converted close to 100 of these.
Man.
So,
Man. Oh my Lord. Well, let's pan if you want. I just want to show folks what it looks like when you first come in this magnificent room. And if you want to just walk us on a little tour around and tell us about each section.
It's a point-to-point railroad. And so this is Weston.
Okay.
Weston is the end of the railroad. It actually connects with the B&O, which I don't have on here.
That's okay.
Small yard and turntable. Again, all the turnout controls were made by me.
Wow.
I used a paper clip to do that.
Let's show. This is really intriguing. These are turnout controls on wood. This is really cool.
This is using a paper clip and a wood dowel. It costs 25 cents a piece.
Right. There's your switch. There's your wood dowel. And it's tied to a paper clip.
Yes.
Wow. And you've got them everywhere, so you don't need to have switch motors.
Nope.
You can throw everything by hand. And the scenery on this layout is absolutely beautiful, folks. Let me pause it and we'll start again where we were. Okay, so this is kind of the end of the line this way, Steve?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. Well, we can start here, and these structures are just, they're beautiful. And On30, again, is O-scale equipment riding on 30-inch gauge track, correct?
That's correct.
And that was essentially HO-size track.
Some of the On30 modelers actually used some HO track off their original layouts when they wanted to convert.
Wow.
And so it was an inexpensive way to do that. And so all they then did was purchase the On30 locomotives and rolling stock.
And run it on their track.
And run it on their current layout.
Right. On their current HO track. Now, technically, On30 track kind of has, it's the same rail and gauge as HO, but it has a little bit bigger ties.
Right. The ties are
spaced
wider and they're more spread apart.
Right. Now, on your track, tell us about your track. It's Pico track, you say?
It's Pico track. I purchased it in 1998. The track from Caboose Hobbies.
Yeah, I remember them.
And I purchased it all at one time.
Wow. And you used acrylic paints to weather the...
Acrylic paints, dry brushed on the entire track. And it's survived over the years and turned out to be pretty good.
Oh yeah, and you don't need to worry about keeping it clean with dead rail.
I went code 100 because I wanted to eliminate all the derailment possibilities that were possible. I didn't want any problems
Right, and these locomotives are beautiful. Now this Heisler here, this one's got battery power in the tender or in
Yes,
the okay.
yes. That was originally DC,
Mm-hmm.
and I was going to sell it, and I said no. I'm just going to convert that to battery power.
Wow. And let's keep take us on a little journey here around the layout. We can head this way like we did last time.
Well, let's go.
Go the other way. Okay, let's do that. So tell us about going this direction.
So once you leave Weston, the first town you're going to come to is Horner,
Okay.
and Horner has a Y.
Okay.
I like to have some kind of a continuous Y, but not necessarily a loop.
Mm-hmm.
So the railroad has a Y and it has a reverse loop.
Oh wow.
And since no special wiring are required, it's an ease
Right.
for the return operation. And when people are visiting, they like to see trains run
Mm-hmm.
and not necessarily in a circle.
Right. So you've got that Y here. And this is really interesting, folks. We're going to talk about blocking scenery. And I've got a guest here that wants to go unnamed. But he's building a layout. And this is a divider that blocks your view from the other side. And Steve, what did you use? A photo backdrop from Joey Ricard? Or?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay. And cut it so that, it looks, like a mountain range, essentially. But it's over my head. I'm 6 feet tall, and I can't see through to the other side, which allows when you're doing operations, you feel like, well, you don't want to see the other side. So we're in our own little world. Tell us about this section, Steve.
All right. We have a maintenance crew down here.
Okay.
And today must be payday because they're all down here celebrating. I think that could be Howard Zane.
Yeah,
down playing the
Howard,
banjo.
his back. Howard's back is to us here, playing a harmonica
Let's
and
get
old time music.
let's get a little better look.
Yeah, Howard. He doesn't want to be on camera here, but no, Howard's got his back to us here, so we can't see him. These G scale figures are beautiful. Not G scale, they're O scale. Excuse me.
Well, they're Woodland Scenics.
They're beautiful.
They had the band, and so I just put it down there. I thought it was really a nice addition to a combine that's been taken out of service.
Right. And this backdrop, again, this photo backdrop, and the way, Steve, you cut it like a mountain, kind of, is really cool.
The reason it's scalped down is we wanted to create the look that went from here to the other town on the other side of the Y.
Okay.
And so we wanted to look through.
Right.
Rather than just having, a square.
Right. And this is a sawmill here?
Yes. This was a sawmill that was converted from a covered bridge.
Oh, wow.
And so that was a covered bridge that a friend of mine, Steve Fisher, was going to throw away. And I was at his house, and I said, no.
Good Lord.
Let me have that. So I took it, and I added some things on.
Uh-huh.
Here's a Walther's.
Yeah, it's one of the
rack.
Walther's wood racks.
Right.
It's HO, but it doubles.
No, that's
for
O scale.
Oh, that's O scale?
That's an O
Okay.
scale. They made an O scale also.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then I just put windows in the side of the building
Mm-hmm.
and put a water tower on top
Man.
and a scratch build bump out. And then I just put a bunch of stuff around it.
Now, here's something that, folks, to activate battery-powered dead rail, Nick Bogarino, if you watch the channel, was talking about it, that you need a wand. He uses like a magnet wand, and he can wave the magnet over the locomotive, and that can wake up the battery, turn it on or off. On this little guy, you've got, looks like an on-off switch hidden over here. Is that where that is?
That's correct. That's an on-off switch.
And tell us about the power. This is a good example of dead rail. The power is here or in this one?
No.
Power's in this one?
I have a harness. I have a harness hooked up to the motor.
Okay.
And it runs back into the gondola.
Okay. This is a perfect opportunity, I think, to show folks.
And then I have everything inside.
Yeah.
In theory, you could have one of these setups and hook it up to every single locomotive that you have, utilizing the harness.
Okay.
Okay?
Wow.
But I have taken, and I have a lot of separate locomotive that are hooked up to their own units.
Okay.
That enables more than one to be operated at one time.
Wow. And this is the log pond.
Yes, it's a log pond.
And let me pause this. All right, now folks, this is the blocked section. You can see over here, this is the blocked off printed that I was just showing you. And Steve, what section is this in here?
This is Lawrence. Lawrence is the coal mine, Davis Babcock number 9.
Okay.
It's got a nice little switching area, and it's a connection to the outside world.
Wow.
As you can see, I've got an industry over here.
Man, let me zoom in. This is, and gosh almighty.
I think if you'll see the theme of this railroad, you'll see it runs through West Virginia in 1947, and a lot of small towns. And so these are the structures that will be near the tracks.
Okay. Wow.
A lot of these towns haven't changed much. The older buildings are vacant now. We have a lot of towns that are just died out because of the coal mines shutting down or cutting back employees.
Wow. And the rock castings are drop dead gorgeous. These are Bragdon Enterprise rock molds.
Yes.
And you use what kind of plaster on these?
Number 1 casting plaster. That's the same thing they used to use in the old houses to make the borders and the ceilings and things like that.
Wow. And then you used acrylic paint to paint them.
That's correct.
God, they're beautiful.
Diluted acrylic paints. And then when that was all done, I take my portable spray gun and add a color in, so you don't see you don't get any of the white that could show through the cracks.
Right.
The sprayer actually gets rid of all those.
Wow. All right, and let me pause this. All right, Steve, tell us about the trees.
I took autumn joy sedum, and it's a plant that grows. People use it in their landscaping, and I pick it in October.
Okay, when it's brown, the plant looks brown.
It's purple, and then it turns brown.
So if you're driving along, I drive along sometimes and see this purple weed. So it's purple in the summertime, I guess?
Well, it's not really a weed per se.
It's a flower?
It's a flowering type ornament.
I've seen it. It's purple in color.
Yes.
And then when it dies back, it turns brown in mid-October, you say?
Yes.
And you harvest it, and then what do you do when you harvest it?
Well, I take it and I have spray cans, and I use a green. It doesn't really matter what green paint you're going to use, but you paint them, and as the paint dries, you dip them in a covering.
Like the
and
flocking.
That can be grass, and different shades of grass from different manufacturers.
Right.
It gives you different colors, different shades of green.
Okay. And the key is using like 4 or 5 different ones.
That's correct.
And you've got a little bit of yellow in here because you're modeling the spring, I think.
Yeah. Well, April.
April, right. And this is dead on, folks. We were driving up here, and the color is dead on for where this layout is supposed to be in West Virginia. This mine, is this a real mine or a fictional, Steve?
Just fictitious.
Wow.
I mean, the Davis Babcock was in West Virginia, but that's not a prototype structure.
And then each one of these little weeds, you start with the really big ones. They look like broccoli heads almost.
Yes.
You start with really big ones, and then you start putting smaller ones in.
Then you layer it in, and as you layer it in, you get that layered look.
Yeah.
And so after I finished painting everything, I then came, and I'd have it in place like it is now. I was lucky enough to come up with some floral colors that the florists use and which was a very, very fine spray. And I would put that on. So some places you notice that.
Wow. Yeah, God, it's beautiful. And for my big layout I'm getting ready to build, I need so many trees. This would cost you tens of thousands of dollars if you were to use super tree or lichen or something. And this weed grows right here in town, I guess.
Yes. Well, we got a lot from a golf course that had the golf tees. The edges were all this plant.
Okay.
And
oh, wow.
so we told them we would take it down and haul it away, and they said, sure, save them, and gave us gallons. You know?
My God. You need to call me the next time if there's an opportunity. I'm going to need to start harvesting this weed. And folks, this is just beautiful through here. We're going to walk through here. So Steve, you want to take us on a journey and tell us about each section?
Here we are. This is Cathedral Point right here. And we have a sound unit with squealing wheels.
Oh my God, that squealing wheel, that's, wow.
And of course we have two different Bragdon molds here. I wanted to stagger it back. And we had a group to get together, and we had developed a method that we could actually size the amount of product we needed to make the molds in the container we were mixing.
Okay.
It got really,
dirty.
But then I put some on the front. So this is Cathedral Point.
Wow.
This is a 3% grade downgrade here.
Now we're cooking, folks. This camera, now we're cooking with everything's focused.
This is the beginning of the return loop. So the return loop begins here, and as we come into Bachmann, which is just a small town.
Let's get this scene, this bridge, Steve. I just want to tell us about this bridge scene.
Well, I got that from Steve Fisher. He was going to throw that away too, and I rescued that.
Oh my Lord!
Did a little work on it.
Steve Fisher still alive?
He passed away.
He passed away
in last year.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
End of last year, yes. He was a very good friend, 40 years.
And he had he was an ON30 modeler.
He was ON30, and then he went GN15 at the end.
My goodness. God, this is just beautiful. These trees. Now, let's talk about the height. You talked about another view block, folks. In other words, on the other side of this mountain is more railroad, but you don't want to see people back there operating. Right. So you use the height here to view block this, Steve?
Yes. I had a friend come over who was about Al's height, and I told him to get on the other side of this view block here.
Okay.
And I kept adding layers on until I couldn't see his eyes or his face.
Wow.
Because I didn't want anybody to be looking over and possibly talking or distracting.
Right. Plus, it's a distraction to the scene too, because you're looking at the scene as a vignette, as a scene.
So this is Bachmann here.
Okay.
One of the things that I wanted to do when I modeled was I wanted to put a runaround track at every single town. It makes it so much more enjoyable to switch a town out if you can run around the points, so you don't have the problem with facing point switches. The minimum radius on the railroad is 24 inches. And so here we're coming around again. I'm going to go to this. It's Revenue Gap right here.
Okay. Let's go through.
Now, this view block is only 6 inches wide, okay? So when we come around to this side, and this is maybe West Virginia.
Okay. Wow. Totally blocked from the other side, folks, the view.
Now remember, we're in the reverse loop.
Okay.
We can go to the end of the railroad, or we can come back to the reverse loop. The first thing you notice here is we have a tunnel. And that goes back to the beginning of the reverse loop here.
Okay.
So we have a pretty large reverse loop.
And again, with reverse loop, with dead rail, you don't need to worry about
Nothing.
any wiring or any nonsense with reverse loops.
No.
it's there. And I hear a telegram, Steve.
Yes. Well, we'll get that. That's on the other side, maybe.
Okay.
What we have on this side, of course, is the water fill for the tenders.
Ooh.
And this, by the way, is battery powered. This is not hooked into electric. I wanted to get away from electric connections as much as possible. Really simple conversions.
I didn't see this.
9-volt battery.
Okay.
And so when it runs the cycle finish, you just turn it off. And the next cycle, you begin the next cycle when you turn it on.
Wow.
Again, another small town setting. And here now, this is the town that kind of ambles around.
Okay.
Around this big, large curve here.
Wow.
I think that's a 36-inch curve, or better maybe.
Uh-huh.
If you notice in the background, we have another mine.
Yeah, let me get in there with you. And this is something I didn't do on my layout, folks, and this is something you should do. Make a turnaround area where the aisle is wider. Steve, you were talking about that. Let me come around.
We kind of have what I call, you can see it right here.
Right.
Where you can pass. My aisles are fairly narrow. And as we get older, we get a little bigger sometimes.
Right. And there's room here to pass through.
Right.
And that was a mistake I made.
Little jet outs.
On my layout, I didn't do that. And if you walk through there with two people, it gets romantic.
Yeah, you can even see,
Yeah.
if you go down the picture down here, you can see it kind of goes out just a little bit.
Yep.
So two people can pass.
In this section. And we'll talk about the telegraph in a minute, but I want people to see this. Tell us about these S-scale buildings in the back, Steve.
Well, what we have, and I want to get some depth looking structures in here, so I used S-scale structures in the background.
Okay.
The one structure there with the yellow car in front, the Ford, is a wrought iron flat made by a company that reproduced some of the Route 66 models in, I believe it was 1976. And that's the only one I ever found.
And that's a metal flat.
That's a metal flat. It's a wrought iron flat. It's very heavy.
Wow.
And so I just stuck the gas tank in front, put the car in. Everything else is painted and everything into the structure.
Did you do the backdrop painting?
I did not. I had a friend who was an artist, and he came up with a model railroader.
Beautiful. Tell us about these beautiful structures here, the hardware store and the laundromat.
Well, one's a Banta, and the other is a Roger Malinowski building. The one on the end is the S scale, the other one is an O scale.
Okay.
I put the S scale there because that building in O scale had this hardware is pretty large. And when Roger came over to see the layout, he passed away recently.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He didn't even realize that it was S scale.
Wow. And it was forced perspective, folks.
Forced perspective, yes.
Now we can talk about this N-scale mine way in the distance here.
Well, it looks like it's way in the distance, but it's really only 3 feet away.
Right, and it's N-scale?
It's N-scale.
And
Bill Miller made that for me. And we stuck it back there. There was some thoughts of putting a spur back there. Not that it would have been seen, but just to have another place to deposit some hopper cars.
Okay. Wow. And then you come down, and then we can talk about the telegram, I guess. Let's get...
The telegraph was something that Gordon North made for me. He was a good friend. Came up a lot to see the railroad. He was an On30 pioneer. He was in the 1950.
Wow.
So he was around a long time. So he made this for me. And he was an electronic genius.
Wow. And it's doing real telegram.
Yes.
And the dog out here is eating some treats.
And I know that, look, I know there's no rubber on the tires here, okay, before you people write in.
Oh, I didn't even notice. So any nitpickers, no nitpicking on the channel. All right, and where are we going to go next?
We're coming down the line now. going across. Here's another bridge.
Mm-hmm.
This is nothing but Atlas girders on lath that I covered it with paper.
Wow.
And the pilings are nothing but 2x4s that I just cut off in slivers and put down the bottom, painted them gray like they were concrete.
And these again are all the sedum trees.
Oh yeah. It's got to be at least 10,000.
Yep. And this area back here, it's like a mine or.
Yes, this is the mining area where this is Colton.
Okay.
And Colton is where the trains going east and west meet to take coal loads
Mm-hmm.
to the different processing points.
Wow. And we talked about this little guy, this seasonal car. My wife's going to love this. Let's talk about it if you want to pull it so we can see it. This caught my eye when we were trying to do the video prior. And let's talk about this. This is really cool.
Well, this is a Bachmann Trolley Car.
Mm-hmm.
It only runs at Christmas.
Okay.
That's why it's decorated up. And I made it into a motor car.
Wow.
A battery powered, of course.
Wow.
The front end, I can't remember where the front end came from.
Uh-huh.
I think it came from a Nomi car, but I'm not really sure now. It's been a while
Man,
since I did that.
this is cool.
But it's all battery powered. It runs like a jewel.
Wow.
And you just throw things on the top that you think
Right.
would work.
Right.
It's even got a little crank to crank the motor. Got a guy standing in the back.
Man, this is just so cool.
Now this is an 8% grade going up, by the way.
Oh, she's pretty steep. Okay.
So you can't push but a couple cars up.
Okay.
And so you have to have a pretty good sized engine to push that up there.
Okay. Stray
So
tree.
let me
here.
just do this before we.
Oh, no problem. We'll keep it real. That's the sedum.
Yeah.
3. Okay, Steve, where are we now?
Well, this is another coal mine. This picture was in one of the magazines,
Mm-hmm.
and Tommy Middleton scratch built this for me.
Okay.
And put it up there.
Wow.
So that's a scratch built from a picture in one of the magazines. My wife named it, by the way.
Oh, did she? Let me just
Oh,
get a
yeah.
shot here real quick before we leave this area, because I wasn't able to get it. This is an interesting little water tank here.
Yeah. Chris Creighton from Canada designed these.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what the name of his company was,
Uh-huh.
but obviously it's a tender on top of a frame.
Wow.
Works.
Yeah.
It's not a difficult structure to build.
Little-
This is supposed to be the point.
Little structures give more space. I mean,
Absolutely.
you have little structures, and you have that gives you, the illusion that you have more space between them. My mistake is I have a lot of structures that are really big, and
Yeah.
then you wind up overcrowding.
Well, this particular structure here, it's kind of interesting. Here we have the still. Okay?
Uh-huh.
There's a guy in a big top hat.
Okay.
The still's in the background.
Making squeezins.
That's an abandoned sawmill that I stuck back there.
Uh-huh.
And the building next to it was built by Al Judy.
Yeah.
And just stuck to it. I mean,
Yeah,
and you
man.
can do things like that. You can just stick stuff together that you would think they would never have together.
Right.
But it looks good.
Hey, making the squeezins. That's
Yeah.
what Harry Clark used to call it when they were making the mountain whiskey. He'd call it squeezins. And everybody, if you're modeling a logging railroad or a rural railroad, man, you got to have some guys making squeezins
That's right.
somewhere.
That's exactly correct.
Yep.
That's exactly correct.
God, look, this again, this backdrop your friend painted is beautiful.
Yeah.
And let's.
Yeah. He was a great modeler. Just a great guy. He passed away.
And what was his name again?
Ed Caterton.
Ed Caterton.
Yes, he did.
All right, let's journey
Now,
down. There's
here's
a
an interesting.
climax.
Here's an interesting point that I'm going to show you.
Okay.
When I built this, the craze for water wasn't as pronounced as it is now, where we have all the waterfront scenes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to put 3 things on the layout: bridges,
Mm-hmm.
water,
Okay.
okay, and battery power.
Okay.
So here's all the water I have right here. Therefore, I've covered everything, and you can see I got it. Gosh, fishing.
Oh wow. Okay. A fishing hole.
A little fishing hole.
Yeah.
And so I've fulfilled the mandatory water. I've got it.
Okay.
Now we're coming down to Harding. And Harding is the home of Sherrill Fine Furniture.
Okay. Any relation, I guess? No.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Yeah. Historically, the Sherrills were the first people passed south of the Catawba River in North Carolina. So if you go down to North Carolina, you will see a lot of Sherrills.
They're related to your family?
All related.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, the original guy had 7 sons.
Oh my Lord. And now the station here, was that scratch built or?
That's another Roger Malinowski's. Now, the story on this was I had the kit. And I went to another modeler was getting out of what he was doing in On30, was going in another direction.
Okay.
Al Judy bought all of his buildings. Then he had an open house and to sell the buildings. I went up there. I bought this structure for half the price of the kit, so I sold the kit, and so I made money on the thing.
Oh wow!
Not intentionally, but
right,
you know.
Right.
So it worked out well.
And this is the Blue Ridge Furniture Manufacturing here, the home of Sherrill Fine Furniture.
That's correct, and Sherrill Furniture is still made.
Wow. And did you scratch build? I forgot. Was this scratch built or?
That's a scratch built structure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then this rock pass we talked about is really, really cool. It's like a double rock pass. Tell us about it.
Well, this was a cut, and as we proceed on down, you will see this is another view block.
Okay.
Okay. The view blocks can be something that just literally blocks your view down the track.
Right.
You know, it doesn't have to be a section which you just can't see anything.
Right.
This is made on a piece of styrofoam. 2 sides, and this particular section is on a styrofoam block.
Okay.
And I put skewers in, stuck it down, and then finished it off.
Wow. Yeah, this is dramatic. And then the trees go up. And then we come around here. And we hear the sound effects. You put sound effects in this curve, Steve. In case we got a trespasser here. We got a guy. See a homeless guy. I don't know.
We got two of our finest hobos walking the tracks.
Yep. And you can hear the... And now this section here, tell us about this.
Well, this is Norton.
Okay.
And we have a lumber yard here. And kind of, you know, the lumber yards sold lumber, fuel for the farmers, coal. They did a lot of stuff.
Wow.
So this is just a place where we have this now. This is a very difficult switching point because the only runaround is on the spur.
Okay.
And the main line is coming through, and it's going to be coming out of the yard, another town just on the other side of this petition.
Okay.
Okay, so you can see we're going to be going through.
Oh, we're view blocked. Yeah, again, we're view blocked.
Yes.
We're going through this tunnel. Okay.
Right.
All right. Let me hit the... All right. And we're going to go into the other room. Which, again, that's view blocked. So that when you go into that other room... Let me just get this, Steve. And this is kind of something I'm doing in my layout on Pugsburg. Yeah. But this is the other room. This is toward the end of the line?
This is the end of the line.
Okay. Wow. And you come right through what? Right over there.
Right. The other side was where we just came from. And it's only about maybe a foot.
Okay.
It comes through on a little angle.
Wow.
Here's two Bachmann bridges put together.
Now, where'd you get the idea of these bridges jetting out at you?
Howard Zane.
Howard Zane. Tell us about Howard. Howard, I know Howard's watching. Hey, Howard, we know you're watching. Steve?
Well, you know, when Howard started his train shows, I happened to be lucky enough to go to the first one, I believe. And it just struck up a little friendship. We used to visit Howard occasionally. I had a couple friends. And we'd go up there through the week when we were off and things like that. And Howard was just a wonderful guy who just always made us feel at home. Even though he was always been a much better modeler than us, he always encouraged us.
Right.
And, you know, I think that he is the most underrated modeler that we have. A lot of people don't know him.
Right.
You know, if you've ever seen his layout, you'll see the greatest layout I think that's ever been built.
Yeah, we certainly love it. And this is also one of the greatest layouts. This, Steve, your layout, and Howard has said this to me. He called me at 10 o'clock at night when I pulled your video I tried to post. Howard called me at 10 o'clock and said, "What the hell did you pull the video for? That was your best video." I said, "Howard, it's out of focus." And I said, and you know, we're going to redo it. And this is the redoing. What
I would say about Howard's layout, the only word I can use for it is it's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And I don't say that about, well, no other layout that I know of is overwhelming. It's just overwhelming.
Right. Well, this is beautiful, this layout, and Howard has said it as well, that he absolutely loves this as a work of art. Now, we have a guest today with us that he's on the other side of the layout, and he was like, he told our guest, "You're going to have a treat when you see Steve's layout." Yeah, and yeah, now tell us about this area, Steve.
Well, this is the end of the line. The tracks over here used to go to a processing point where the coal was brought from Caterton.
Okay.
Down here.
Okay.
I have since moved structures because of I wanted to switch, and not much switching, you know.
Right.
For what it was, and so I took the structures from here and put them back there.
Wow.
So here's just a Walters, I don't even know what you call mill or something like that. That I put in and put a new roof on. And created something. These are Lionel platforms, believe it or not.
Oh wow.
I've got one over here too.
Who did these backdrops? These are really pretty, the way they're staggered and the way they're laid.
You know, I don't know. I had this for years in a drawer, and I brought them out, and I was having an open house, and I didn't want to have this blue wall, so I just stuck them up there, and I never took them back down. And
we talked about, there's a gal screaming somewhere. She's over here.
Oh, no.
Oh, she's over on the other side?
Yeah, I'll point her out.
We'll go over there and take a look. Yeah. So let me pause this. We were talking about in the other video that you take these flats. Now this one's a little bowed. This one has to be removed and braced. But Steve put actual fire escapes on this. Yeah. And that gave it a really cool look.
Here's the...
Oh, the girl. Yeah.
The girl hanging out the window.
Yeah,
she actually looks like she's hanging out the window.
Yep.
Yelling at somebody down here. I think the engineer in that...
Yep.
Center cab.
Come on up, honey. Yeah, that's a cool little locomotive. Tell us about that little locomotive.
Well, that was an HO locomotive. It did have an offset cab. I cut it out, took the original cab, and just put a piece of wood under it to jack it up at the right height.
Wow.
It's battery powered. And then...
This is great. This load is cool. This is a neat car.
Well, I did not do that car. At Al Judy's last meet, we exchanged cars.
Okay.
And so you would draw a number, and then you would get a pick.
Right.
I think there was 21 cars. I was doing something else, and of course I had a number, probably the last number, and so I got this car.
Wow. Tell us about this green, what is that? What's that say?
That's a SG&S. It says SG&S. This is, Bachmann made a rail bus. This is the trailer to the rail bus. This is an unpowered. And if you saw I powered the other one on the other side, put sound in it, and cut the platform out so it has an open platform back.
And we'll run it a little if that's okay.
Okay.
And then on part 2, folks, you can watch some trains run. So you want to make sure you watch part 2. And this little turntable here at the end of the line.
This was a motorized turntable that I could never get to work right, and so I just took the motor off and turned it by hand.
Oh yeah.
I think that was an HO turntable. The other one I believe was an N scale.
And I've seen this in inner city Baltimore and in rural areas a lot. They take a couch or they take a bench and they're put it out, so they can hang out and.
Well, another seating thing I did over here was a little detail. And this is a little simple structure you could do from an old wheel set and just put a plank over top of it, and they would sit there and have lunch.
Yeah. This guy's wiping his brow. Oh,
yes, he is.
Hard working.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, I am so impressed with this layout, and thanks for letting us see this. And then you're going to talk about dead rail and batteries. We're going to do that in a separate video.
Absolutely.
And tell us about some upcoming meets, like the Harrisburg that Al Judy passed away. Tell us, he was a fantastic human being.
Yes, he was. I met him a few years ago. I used to have a On30 meet across the street at the church. And he called me up and said, "Could I come down? And I got some stuff to sell." And that's the first time I met him.
Right.
And at that time, I was getting ready to not have any more meets.
Right.
It was just getting to be too much because we're getting so popular.
Right.
And so the next year, he picked it up in Harrisburg.
Right.
And so we've just remained friends ever since.
And he passed away.
I really do miss Howard. Howard's on my brain.
Yeah.
I can't get him out. But they were very similar, believe it or not.
Right.
In my opinion, very similar individuals.
Yes. Yes, Al was, he saw me at an O scale Strasbourg, and he tapped me on the shoulder and said, "I know you. You're the one with Howard Zane doing all the videos." I said, "Yeah."
Right. That's right.
And I recognized him from New Tracks Modeling. He spent all day with me. He didn't know me from Adam.
Yeah.
And then he invited me over his house. And folks, go to my playlist, click on layout visits, and you'll see Al Judy. And then I have another segment called Day in the Shop.
Yeah.
And I did Al Judy's shop. And Al Judy told us about, oh my God, it was like septic. It was like, it could be John Hopkins where they do brain surgery.
These people keep it so clean. I mean,
this
mine is not bad at all. But, sometimes it's as much fun building as it is trying to find the parts you're looking for on your bench.
Yeah.
But I just have a lot of fun with model railroading. I've been doing it since my first train in 1947. I actually got involved with HO in 1950.
Jeez.
John
Allen have anything to do with? Oh
my God.
We all got John Allen hit with that. Those magazines.
Yeah. Well, my dad gave me $100 in 1950.
Ooh, that's a hell of a lot of money
to spend for trains.
Oh my God, that's a lot of money back then.
I can tell you that in 1950, $100. It bought a lot of trains and got me started.
Wow.
And my parents were always very supportive. Took me places to see real trains.
Wow.
But we're not really interested in trains.
Right, but they did it for you.
As far as the models go.
They did it for you.
Yeah.
Steve, I really appreciate this. Folks, stay tuned for more chapters. Thanks so much, Steve.
Okay.